So yeah, Andy Bowman, the Ohio State University College of Veterinary Medicine, and run a large influenza surveillance program, and we'll kind of dive into that. For us, we've been doing flu surveillance in animals for quite some time. Just quick background, almost all the diversity of influenza viruses reside within the animal population somewhere. And so we've been doing surveillance in animals looking for viruses that might be the next pandemic. And so out of that, we continue to look at all sorts of different species, and these come to us through different projects, and all have different sampling structure, different data reporting requirements, different samples that we're getting. And so this has been ongoing for us for quite some time, and obviously with the pandemic arising with COVID, they're probably not going away anytime soon. And so we're going to continue to be doing surveillance in animals, and whether it's for flu or for other viruses as well, this is an issue for us. And so trying to figure out how we're going to manage all that data has been a problem. So one of the major challenges we have is the volume of samples. And so, across many years, our kind of volumes looking 10,000 samples per year, 15,000 tests annually, if not more. Major challenge for us is we have a repository dating back to 1986. And so obviously predating my time on faculty, but there's a repository at the Ohio State University of avian influenza viruses dating back to 1986. And so for us, the issue was we'd been using some homegrown FileMaker databases, and in all reality, we were spinning up new iterations of FileMaker databases for each project that came along, which makes it really hard here, especially thinking about some of our employee issues, is that we have students, and to lots of them, telling them which project it came from that they weren't even around for is kind of hard for us. Add to that, IT has been largely focused at other issues, maybe not so much research focused, and it's very taxing on our IT support every time we need to get a new database up and going for a research project. And so led us to just kind of looking at what other things are out there, and we've been shopping for probably quite some time, trying to figure out where we wanted to go, and then eventually we ended up with Sample Manager. So why did we end up at Sample Manager? One is Sample Manager seemed to be really key to the idea, or keen in on the idea of research focused, sort of data management. When, especially for us looking at other limbs and maybe even veterinary focused limbs, it was more reporting back to clients sort of thing. And for us, that's not something we do. It's all research focused. And so for us, we have these data reporting requirements, and each one's different. And so working with Hannah to customize our grid so that we can get the data we want out of Sample Manager was really a key to us. The sample-centered focus of Sample Manager is exactly how we think about things in our daily life here. Is it's always focused about the sample. Granted, it may come from different animals, may come from different projects. We may be doing different assays on it, but nonetheless, everything really focuses around the sample. And so the workflows within Sample Manager that are really focused on the sample fit with us very well. How customizable things have been really sold us the idea that we didn't have to reach out to tech support every time we needed to add a new assay, or obviously we don't know what's coming down the pipe next. And so we were able to get in there and see how we can customize things, add new projects, new assays, and it's really user friendly. So like I mentioned, we have a constant infusion of new lab staff. As even semester to semester, we have new students in the lab that come and go. And so we needed something that was rather intuitive, user friendly, that we can get folks onto, that it's not going to take a lot of training. And for us, in our first look through Sample Manager, everyone said, man, that's really user friendly, and that's easy for us to understand how things would go. So things that we love, and we are fairly new. We've probably only been at it for a few months at this point. So things that we love at this point are the different types of sources. And so for us, as you can imagine, we have lots of different source sources, things that we want to associate with any given sample, and the fact that we can do that quite easily, it makes life really easy for us, and makes it easy for us in our eventual reporting and data analysis. How easy we can manage the assays really helps us as well. And so as we think about new assays that are constantly coming on, it's not so burdensome to get a new assay in the system, and we can get it moving. One of the major selling points for us has been customer service. I swear every time I ask Hannah something, before I even finish the question, the answer is yes. And then she says, "Oh, what was the question?" She figures it out, and so we get to some really useful things. And even when it's like, well, we aren't there yet, but it's in our wish list, it's in the pipe, it's going to be coming soon. At least there's a workaround, or there's some way that we can get what we need. But we've been over the moon happy with the customer support that we've received so far. And so for us, that was a major selling point, that we aren't just stuck with something that were purchased off the shelf and nothing's going to ever change. So really happy that we've had that experience. For us, where we're going, we haven't really gotten into it yet, but is the workflow feature and assigning that work to folks, especially as we have students in and out of the lab with varied schedules, and that changes all the time, and who's going to be doing what. To us, if we can really wrap our head around the workflows and get everything set up so that we can put those in individual employee queues, that's awesome where we're going. Freezer inventories we're working on. As I mentioned, we have that repository dating back. That also means we have to get all of that historical data into Sample Manager, and we're working on that. But that's our current, whenever anybody's looking a little board, we can put them on getting that historical data in and getting our inventories pulled together. And then we're looking at the idea of maybe some APIs in the future for data reporting, just trying to limit how much hands-on work we have to do on data. The fact that it's an option is awesome, and we're trying to think about how can we do some of those things, especially in some of our long-term projects where we have pretty regular data reporting requirements, and those can be rather onerous, but we might be able to short circuit that a little bit, by not having to have hands-on time in the middle of it. So with that, I can wrap up and take any questions, or anybody can shout out to me afterwards. And if you've got questions, happy to answer and discuss anything that we've been doing.
Super cool, Andy, and really exciting to see how much progress you guys have made in such a short time too. So I've got a question for you. So obviously you're kind of in the beginning stages of this, but how do you think having a sample management tool will sort of impact your future research, given that you've got this sort of high turnover in the lab? So like, what do you see in 2 years from now or 3 years from now with a tool like this?
Yeah, so hope is it improves efficiency in the lab. We always kind of joke about the hit by a bus plan around here, and right now, those of us with institutional knowledge are the hit by bus plan. So when somebody needs something, which project did that originate in? That's the problem now, is I have to say, oh, well, it's over here, it's over there, and right, I have that knowledge, but I need a central place where it's all in one, and could essentially continue that repository, as things evolve and people can come and go. I'm not the pinch point anymore.
Yeah, awesome. Great to hear that that's the goal for you. Another question that we have, did you face any adoption challenges in the team? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Yes, and we're still facing some of those. I had to go change the password on the FileMaker databases because it was comfortable, right? Those that knew it kept going there and kept putting stuff in, and so I kind of had to lock those down to a select group that could get into them. As we know, change is hard. But on the other hand, I think once you get used to it, it's not it's not that bad. And you're right, some of the end users, they don't feel the crunch that we feel as we're trying to manage and report data and all that sort of stuff. So once they get used to it, and we're moving towards barcodes and all those sorts of things that we think will help. But yeah, we've kind of just, we took the leap one day and drew a line in the sand and said, nothing after this is going in the old way.
Awesome. Yeah.